Good morning and welcome to an exciting episode of Not Wasting a Single Story. As always, I'm still your host, Dr. Gamatrai Mutezo, and today we are broadcasting live from the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. It's all this beautiful branding that you see behind us. I'm super excited about this conversation because as the world descends to the United States of America, specifically Indiana, we are unpacking, celebrating, discussing, flipping how roasting, cooking, you name it all, different aspects of entrepreneurship. Some of the key elements that had come out yesterday during the opening was that entrepreneurs are disruptive. Entrepreneurs are not fearful of anything, and entrepreneurs are the ones who ensure that innovation is explored. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation that I have with my good friend Mark. I'll ask him to introduce himself briefly because, as you know, I don't do the introductions. I want to hear from my guests directly who they are, what they do in the space, and then we get into the meat of it. If you are a young person, a decision maker, or even just an individual, please ensure that you have your notebook because the purpose of these podcasts, of these conversations, are to ensure that we showcase and we celebrate the beautiful opportunities for entrepreneurs, particularly within the sustainability space, whether it's waste management, climate change, and all these beautiful green things. All right, Mark, hello.
Hello, well, thank you. Lovely to be together and finally meeting in person. We've done a lot of Zoom calls over the years. Yes, in terms of who I am, to introduce myself, my name is Marc Ortmans, and I am the chair of Global Entrepreneurship Network in the UK. I've been involved with this organization since its inception, in the early discussions from 2007, and then the launch of Global Entrepreneurship Week in 2008. And and on it's gone, and we're now in 200 countries,
Yes.
which is just wonderful.
Before we get into the wonderful experiences you've had when you joined the Gen Network, who is Mark? Where did he grow up? What did he study? What does he do for fun?
So, yeah, I've had a career. I studied as a graphic designer.
Oh, I did not see that one coming. Okay.
um, and was fascinated by moving image.
Yeah.
And so I've started straight after college. I started a little design practice with a friend, and from college.
Please.
We basically had a book, our little Bible, as to how to do it, and it was by a lady called Dorothy Goslet. And you can probably find it somewhere, but it was how to set up your design practice.
Okay.
And it literally said you'll need a coat stand and so on for when you've got visitors. So we'd literally follow it page by page. So, and this is well before the internet or any other support. But so we set up that business, and then eventually I got into working for the BBC, and producing title sequences for programs.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful. I mean, I couldn't believe somebody's paying me to do what I really love.
You yourself were shocked. They're like, okay, you willing to pay me? That's cool.
Yeah, and so that was fun. And then I got involved with, I then moved to Channel 4 television in London, and ran the design department there. And then ultimately, a couple of years later, started my own production company with a BBC colleague. And we did that for a very long time, making commercials and launching TV channels everywhere.
I really did not see this coming.
Yeah.
It's going to make our chat really interesting.
So I was a creative,
Yeah.
who then ultimately got involved with the world of business. But it very much affects the way I think. So business often has problems like anywhere else in any other sector, and so if you're a creative thinker, it helps you solve those problems, maybe in a slightly different or lateral way, if you like.
Yeah.
Uh,
And in this process, would you say you explored entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship found you?
oh, that's a really interesting question. Did it find me? I suppose coming straight out of college to set up a business, that was being entrepreneurial, though nobody really told me that was the case. I never even thought of it like that. But, with a business partner, we set up a small practice. Um, and then really running my own business and running other people's businesses later as well. I ran a large design consultancy that was in several countries. That was less fun because that was about being a manager.
Okay.
Uh,
Creative juices flowing.
I didn't get as much opportunity to do that, so I'm glad it didn't last that long. It was only for a couple of years, but
L comes with the, I suppose it comes with the growth. It's a sweet and sour situation.
well, do you know, it's really quite funny. I was talking about this with somebody yesterday that you look at somebody's bio, somebody's been working for a while, and you say, oh, they went here and they did this job and this job. And it looks like it was a completely planned roadmap as to what they want to do. Whereas in most cases, it was a series of accidents
Okay.
that you bump into somebody, serendipity, if you like.
Yes.
And so it says, hey, have you ever thought of working in this field? Do you want to come and work with me? And you hadn't thought about moving, and suddenly you're changing jobs.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's one of the wonderful things in life is that you don't know what's around the corner. And sometimes they're not great things. Sometimes they can be wonderful surprises.
I'd like us to stress that element a little bit. Within this space of entrepreneurship, we talk about the mindset and the journey. Sometimes people get exposed to it, and at times, circumstance forces people into it. In your experience, do you reckon that entrepreneurship should be taught, or it's just theirs? They should be a catalyst. Because I'm trying for us to get to that point of have seen more entrepreneurs generally than we've ever seen in the past. Because really, it's the next best thing after sliced bread.
Whether it's taught or not, I think it's quite subtle as to how that might work. So it could be, for example, I think you are born with a proclivity to be an entrepreneur or not. It's a bit like, you can divide people into leaders and followers.
Yes.
People who want to, give me a task and I'll do it. My world, working in television, there were people who wanted to be behind the camera, shooting it,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to direct it. I wanted to direct. I didn't want to push the camera around.
Yeah.
So we both found what we wanted to do. And I think that's true about entrepreneurs. So they are a breed. Preparing them to be a good entrepreneur or one that doesn't waste the opportunities, or as I describe it, make sure you know where all the bodies are buried
Yeah.
before you walk through. But it's really quite important that they're given that guidance. And I think so it's the mentorship that really matters. And I mean, it's a rather, fancy word, mentoring.
Yes.
We only started using it about 5 or 10 years ago, really, with a vengeance. But
if it's not mentoring, what other word would you give it?
well, guidance. So I think it's a bit like if you've got think of uncles and aunts.
Okay. I see the vision.
So it's somebody who's got your best interests at heart. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you happy. They don't want to see you getting hurt or failing. Although failure is not really a problem, but it needs to be managed.
Yeah.
And so it can be friends, family, or professional experts. And the more of those supporters, if you like, you put around you, the better your journey.
Yeah.
It's very lonely being an entrepreneur. So
Please, somebody bring tissues.
well, do you know, it's Liverpool Football Club have a song, say, never walk alone. And that really applies to entrepreneurs. If there's one bit of advice, don't try and be clever and do it by yourself. I mean, 1 in 100 will survive and do it successfully that way. But
Yeah.
most successful entrepreneurs have had that support network around them. As I say, it could be, you know, friends, partners, relatives, and so on. But it's those people who really are just going to help you not go insane trying to do it.
But this is super, super critical. As I was telling you yesterday, we're at a certain part of growth in our business. And actually, think I've told a few people that one gets to a certain state, especially as a leader, where you also need help in the strategic thinking or the strategic planning. And because people are probably used to you leading as the director or the production senior and whatnot, by the time you say, hey, I'm looking for guidance, like, what type of help do you probably need? You have it all sorted. But you are really just stressing the importance of, irrespective of the value chain within entrepreneurship that you play, guidance is critical. Oh,
Yeah, being guided. I mean, it's like guardrails, if you like.
yeah.
Think of the way your parents made sure that you followed the right track, as they did their best, in all cases. But that's their mission, they have your best interests at heart. They want to make sure you're safe and happy and doing wonderful things if possible. So it's that same guidance principle that's in parenting that should be there for the entrepreneur. I'd add one thing which is also quite interesting is entrepreneurs often struggle with the fact they're setting up a business. Partly because, and this is really interesting, most entrepreneurs never chose primarily to set up a business. What they chose to do is to change the world in some other way.
Yes.
They wanted to do some new invention, or they wanted to set up a different alternative to something that's out there. It necessitates having to set up a business to make that happen.
Yes.
So it's a kind of necessary evil. And it's quite often why entrepreneurs struggle with setting up a business is, one, they don't really want to do it. Or that's not what they're getting excited by.
Yeah.
So it's something you have to do rather than you would really want to do.
Yeah. Necessity.
And therefore, it's can be a bit boring, all of those mechanical parts of setting up a business. You've got to look after the tax side and the accounting and the
Phrase.
all of that. So often it's said, if you can get it to a large enough team to have somebody else that you offload that management role to,
Yeah.
so you can focus just on the kind of purpose-driven mission that you might have for your business. So making sure that your staff are looked after, that you've paid the rent on the building, and or somebody else is going to do that. That's the dream.
This thing called entrepreneurship, it brings us now to the crux of our conversation. We have indicated that it's important for us to receive mentorship or some sort of guidance in making that decision to become or not to become. And at times, that guidance also allows you to see yourself being a resource within a small enterprise instead of actually starting it. And it's okay. That's the beauty of mentorship and guidance. Now, let's look at the role that Jen has played over the past so many years, and importantly, setting a foundation for those entrepreneurs within the sustainability space. I ask this because, having played in the space myself, one really has to look under a rock, behind a tree to figure out, where can I go for guidance, or just simply exposure. Can I actually run a business? Do I need to be a business owner, or do I just need to be the COO for the small enterprise? Will this climate related content make us money? Oh, so many questions. So I really just kind of give it a whole lay of the land, but you can unpack as you see fit.
So the Global Entrepreneurship Network has many areas of activity, but one of the things it's really achieved over the years is breaking down the silos. So what do I mean by that? Well, entrepreneurship, well, even the word entrepreneurship
Yeah.
has only become really common parlance in the last 20 years. People didn't really use the word. They'd say you're in business or you're enterprising or so but what it's represented is all the things we've been discussing. But governments would have programs, banks, schools, universities.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing their own thing. And I'm just thinking 15 years ago, and what has been really transformative is being able to bring all of those different stakeholders into a single conversation and get them to work together. So that's been one of the achievements of Gen. And so you see corporates and governments and everybody else all coming together to support the entrepreneurs. So
Yeah.
and that's happened in pretty much all countries now, which is amazing.
You said over 200 now, hey?
200 countries. So it's kind of active everywhere there isn't a war right now. So that's a simple way of looking at it. So it goes up and down depending on war and peace.
Yes. Stop the war, please.
Yes, we'd like to stop the wars, please, so we
Entrepreneurship.
have more entrepreneurs
Yeah.
allowed to move safely around their country. Um, so yes, so it's grown and it's grown and it's got this incredible role that it supports entrepreneurs worldwide through ecosystems, and also because it's non-political, it's been able to talk to governments and advise them and help them where possible too. So I think, yeah, that kind of covers what Jen's about.
Yes. Okay. And then we bring it now to the odd type of opportunities or activities that you've seen entrepreneurs doing specifically in the sustainability space, be it climate change, waste management, circular economy. What are you seeing? What's happening? Where are the opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few people here from different countries, and it's interesting. There's a kind of common theme that it's the young people that are giving everybody cause for optimism, because it's not because it's the right thing to do to be sustainable, of course, which it is, and to be looking at net zero solutions and so on, but it's also the fact that it's what they want.
Yeah.
They're growing up in a world where they feel the planet is threatened. It's quite scary if you're young to some degree and you look and you say, well, everything is deteriorating. The oceans are getting warmer and more polluted. You're getting the same with forests getting depleted. And we've all experienced, wherever we are on the planet, examples of global warming. I mean, I think I was mentioning to you yesterday that even in England in May, we've got yellow grass because there's been no rain, and we're in spring.
Which is very open.
Yeah. So it's and that's a very mild problem to have compared to others who are suffering huge floods and much worse things. But it's that disruption that the planet's going through, that turbulence, and that if you're growing up with that as a backdrop,
Yes.
you want it to be less or removed altogether, all of that problem. So I think, to your point, it's therefore the hope is that younger generation who are coming through as the new entrepreneurs want to do it for, even just if you take selfish reasons for their future, they want to make sure that they have a future, that the planet is in a healthy enough state that they can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're going to want to have children and have another generation and another after that. So it's in everybody's interest to look after the planet. So that comes back to your point about where do the entrepreneurs fit in.
Yeah.
And I think it's very exciting times because there's a lot of innovation going on. What we grew up with is thinking it's magic, it's impossible to do as a solution. Now people are coming up with technology solutions or inevitable AI things, but that actually do what appear to be impossible. as mentioning a propulsion system in space that uses water as its fuel.
Interesting.
How does that work? I don't know. But he's, an entrepreneur, a young graduate student has come up with this solution. And that's what's exciting, is that you just run into these people who are very modest. Actually, in this case, this chap's middle name is Modest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
which I think is rather appropriate. However, I think across the board, different fields, different sectors, entrepreneurs are coming up with amazing solutions that can really change the world, transform it. And that would apply, of course, whether it's circularity solutions or trying to get to zero waste is something which is or that we're burying it, and it just seems so wrong. It's, we're not very smart.
And just on that note, are these conversations that you as an individual are having with those you come across, or they are having it with you, versus these are the conversations that are taking place within the Gen Network and you just see more interest from green businesses coming up with their innovations?
Oh, definitely see more green businesses coming
Okay.
forward. So I think it's a trend.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be that people would do it almost like wearing a hair shirt. I must suffer for my planet, if you like. What is the tipping point, I think, has been recognizing to be green or to be chasing a net zero solution is the smarter thing to do. I mean, let me just give you a very simple example. If we were going to go out and buy a car today, if we bought a diesel car and expected to sell it in 5 years' time, we wouldn't expect much money back because it's the old technology. If it was an electric car, I'd maybe expect to get a better return. So it's about, and that even goes down to investors recognize that if they were to invest in a business that had a diesel technology to it, as opposed to an electric, their return might be less at exit. So it's in their interest to go for future-proofing solutions. And we know that unless it is a sustainable green solution, it probably has a short lifespan or a diminishing one as a product or service. So for that reason, that's why they're getting supported. But also the investors can see that you can run a profitable green business. So you can do both. You can have a profitable company, which allows you to grow, create jobs, create benefit to the community wherever you're operating. So that's on the kind of human level. And then at the same time, you're also helping the planet or reducing the impact or negative impact on the planet. Because I think sometimes we forget that there is always a negative impact. It's how is it balanced?
Yeah. I mean, just on that note of investors, it's not always the easiest thing finding investors with the mindset of supporting or investing in green businesses, let alone having a risk appetite to say, I'm going to walk the journey with Mark. What conversations have you heard happening among them? And what can current or aspiring entrepreneurs within the space kind of keep in mind when pitching to such investors?
I think it's when it comes to having a successful relationship with an investor so that they actually say yes to your proposal, you need to be imagining being in their shoes. What are they looking for?
Yeah.
So they want to feel that your solution, your proposal has a good chance of succeeding, and it's going to deliver good results.
Yeah.
So you've got to present your proposition so that it meets their needs of how they want to be, how they want to view success, working together. And I think this is where too often, if your drive and your purpose has been because I want to save the planet, I'm almost an activist, that can suggest that maybe you don't quite care how profitable it is or how well it works as a business. So that's going to worry the investor. They're going to have less confidence in you. So it's having to recognize you have to kind of tell the story with a different frame, a different lens when you're talking to the investor than when you might be talking to other green or to net zero fellow travelers wanting to do that. So horses for courses in that sense. So you've got to present yourself as a smart business person who's found a way of doing something that happens to be green, but it's going to be a profitable business. So think of it, take the green word out, and it just becomes apparent that, oh, and by the way, it's a very sustainable circular solution that delivers, and this has got a smart angle because it's going to only grow that demand for circular, sustainable products and services. So I think that's it. Almost take the green shirt off when you're doing the presentation.
Okay, makes sense. Because to some extent, one is, I suppose, exploring a passion project. But a passion project can only get to a certain extent because you still need to butter bread, you need to pay your utility stuff and whatnot. So rather than looking at it from my recycling, redesigning, remanufacturing, repurposing business and make money? Am I selling this as a product or as a service? And understanding, I suppose, who would purchase that product or service. And once you do the maths, you're like, oh, by the way, it is a biologically circular or technically circular. That's what I'm drawing out of this.
Yeah.
Do I get a 10 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10?
Definitely, no, 10 out of 10. I think, again, it's, if you're to succeed, you need to really know your market. And have really genuinely identified demand for what you're going to provide. Can they almost feel they can't live without your product or service? So, and go talk to prospective customers. Go and find out what they think. What are their needs? Because that will really help inform the way you talk to other customers, the way you do your marketing, the way you describe your product or service. And the more you do that, the stronger your positioning is. And that again, just even doing that before you go to an investor, say, we talked to 50 different possible customers and they have told us this. Now that shows you understand your customer and where the advantages and the disadvantages are, some of the things you've got to maybe fix or build more reassurance into it and so on.
Okay. You bring in another interesting point that our viewers and listeners can take into consideration. Doing some R&D/market research, because you can have a passion to create new textile products. Congratulations, well done. But is your market ready for it? In the same breath, can you create a market?
I think you can create a market that doesn't exist. You just think of some areas that, or some products and services that didn't exist and now they've got a huge following. I mean, it's not that old, something like TikTok. It's only, I don't know, but maybe, only a handful of years old, yet it's, swamped the planet and sucked millions of hours of attention from millions and millions of people. So somebody did some research at the front and said to somebody, what do people need? What is the shortfall on the other social media platforms that we could address? Because I think this is the thing, even before you've designed something, you can ask people what's not there, what's missing, where is there an opportunity? And that doesn't need money to get that research done. It just needs your time and to have thought through the questions and to really be able to analyze the answers.
Okay, so can we say it needs your time as well as Wikipedia and ChatGTP, or a little more than that?
Should you be using ChatGTP? Is it? Well, I I think you should use it as a tool,
Yeah.
but don't let it do the job. Don't let it do the thinking.
You still need to apply mind to it.
I mean, what I've tended to do is say, okay, I'm going to prompt it to do something, to draft, if you like, something for you. And then you go in and you rewrite it
Yeah.
in your own words. It's quite obvious quite often that it was written by AI and not by a human.
Yes.
Some of the quirky words sort of occasionally creep in, and
Look,
or it might not be your speak.
you look at Mark's face and you look how he used this combobulate. You're like, this is not you. I've never heard you use this combobulate before. Okay.
So that's absolutely true. So I think it can be a time saver, but I think it's important you are consciously directing and driving the writing or whatever it's doing for you.
Yeah.
It's a good way of getting it to suggest something. So you say, oh yes, that's something I hadn't thought about including.
Yeah.
So it's a good way of catching those thoughts. But yeah, it's a modern tool. I mean, it's going to end up doing. I mean, they say it's starting to have its own mind in some cases, where it's able to stop you switching it off.
Well, that's going to be a
Pull the plug.
podcast. That's going to be another podcast. All right. Now, within the context of Gen UK in particular, everything you've mentioned, are those the kinds of platforms, products, and services that you offer within the ecosystem?
Well, it's interesting. The UK is probably one of the most saturated ecosystems in terms of support. So I mean, give you an idea, there are some 700 accelerators and incubators.
700. You have my attention. This is interesting. Okay.
So why would you build another one?
Yeah.
I mean, people are doing them every day. But why would, so there's no need for us to provide that.
Yes.
However, we will pick certain groups that need further support. So, for example, we've run a program called Restart Ukraine, which has been helping female founders displaced by the war between Russia and Ukraine, helping them to restart or to start a business. That's been provided online.
Yes.
We have something called the Gen UK Hub, and that's a kind of community platform. And providing it online has meant that they haven't had to be physically in one place to receive the support.
Yeah.
So we're providing them with mentors and courseware, some software on how to build a business plan, how to run a business.
Yeah.
LinkedIn gave them premium licenses and guidance on how to network successfully.
Yes.
So a lot of support, and all provided online, and that has been now. I think we've got 200 women we've now supported and their businesses. So we're very proud of that, because that's an example of responding to a need.
Yes.
You know, when the war broke out, they were suddenly arriving as refugees in the UK and other countries. So we felt that, you know, what could we do to help? So that's an example of a program. We're just about to do one called AI for Startups.
Oh, nice.
And again, that'll be an online provision. But most of the time, we're trying to promote what others in the ecosystem are doing.
Yes.
And are offering and providing. So a lot of our work is flagging what's out there, because there's so much that is so easy to miss.
Yes.
And you know, the good news is there's a lot of help out there, and you know, in most countries, and even so, there's a lot of programs that are available online. So to give you an example, Goldman Sachs has a program it's run for several years now called 10,000 Women. It's free. Anybody can sign up, so please do. And it has got an A to Z, soup to nuts, complete provision of guidance on how to set up and operate a business as a woman, and even to be investor ready. Free.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the courseware was created by Leeds University with Goldman Sachs. But it's a good example of where, some of the best minds are put to work to put together something of a real world-class quality, and then provide it to women for free. So I encourage everybody to Google that and sign up, because it's tried and tested and a great value. And it's been used by women across the world in many, many countries.
It's okay. I've got a two-part question. First, I could be seated in Cambodia, Egypt, wherever. Can I access some of these opportunities and attend online? And secondly, are these opportunities industry agnostic?
Um, yes, I think, I believe wherever you are on the planet, you should be able to access it if you've got a decent internet connection. So unless for some strange reason your country's blocking certain URLs, which does occur, but if you've got general freedom of access, then you should be able to get onto programs like 10,000 Women.
Yeah.
And then, if you were to Google programs, you'll find there are others alongside that might be a better fit for you, or more focused around a particular sector.
Yeah.
We were talking just about this week in Oxford in England. There's a huge summit taking place.
Yeah.
Called the Right Here, Right Now Climate Change Summit. And interestingly, there's 8 universities across the planet who will be doing a 24-hour live broadcast, handing from one time zone to another, and very much focusing on young people and how they can get involved with saving the planet in their own way.
Yeah.
So this is where kind of human rights and climate change come together, and with a great focus on the hope being it's youth or young people who are going to really be able to make the difference. So all of that again is available online. I'm thinking, do I have the URL in my head? No, I don't.
Oh, how's gonna help?
But but I think if you were to look up Right Here, Right Now, Climate Change Summit, you will find it. And see if I think they've got a YouTube channel as well. So I think by the time you might be viewing this after it's happened, so at that stage, you may find that there's a recording to enjoy of 24 hours of from around the world. So what I'm driving at here is that there's amazing people thinking about these problems, trying to solve them, and not just in your country, but in every country, there's conversations going on.
Yeah.
And we're in this wonderful, where we are today, we've got probably 150 nations standing in one space. Now, for me, that is a magical experience, and an example of how we can bring everybody together into one conversation to solve problems.
Yeah.
And meet challenges. So for me, it's a wonderful achievement of Jen, is to be able to literally bring the world into one room. It doesn't happen very often.
That's why it's called the World Cup of Entrepreneurship.
I call it the United Nations of Entrepreneurship,
Nope.
or the Davos.
The Davos of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Nope.
So because it really is bringing all those thoughts. I mean, there's some incredible people that we've been hearing from this week. some real rock star entrepreneurs. We've had musicians and spacemen, or astronauts, I should say. It's a lovely mix, and everybody's got something to say and to share.
So also now as a parting point to those who are aspiring, current, or even conflicted in a particular journey of entrepreneurship, what would you tell it?
Well, depends what the conflict is, but I think one, don't rush it. Make sure that you've really thought things through.
Yeah.
To be an entrepreneur, or to just to follow that course of, to some degree, which is driven by faith rather than knowledge. Um, it's going to be a bumpy journey. It's going to be probably an exciting adventure, but you're going to need to be resilient. It's going to be quite taxing in terms of the amount of time and energy and so on it will probably demand.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable with that, and recognize that your mental well-being is going to be challenged,
Yeah.
and look after it, your kind of work-life balance. Um, travel the world or the road, not alone, but with others, and expect that the learning will never stop. And if it does, something's gone wrong,
Yes.
because there's still more to learn. And I think that becomes a good guiding principle. And as they say, make sure that anybody you bring into your team, particularly when you start hiring them, that they're better than you.
Yeah.
Certainly at jobs you don't like doing. But I think don't but learn how to be a good delegator, and that's, I think, a good sign of good leadership.
Yes.
So it's gonna demand a lot of skills that you're going to need to develop and hone. But they're really, and you're going to get support in how to make those, how to learn, how to develop those skills. And as I say, quite often, just Google it. It's amazing how many young people have got fantastic skills that they got them all from YouTube. They've learned how to play the piano from YouTube, and now are concert pianists without having had a tutor. So if they had access to a piano, kids from some of the toughest parts of any town can suddenly achieve great things. So see it as your university, YouTube and other platforms to. So don't feel, if you can't afford to get to the education you want, that there isn't a way. There is. It's a different one, doing it online, but it's there.
Perfect. Perfect. A element to conclude what Mark has just said right now, for us in the African context, our cities are rapidly urbanizing. Entrepreneurship offers us that opportunity to provide solutions that also have an impact on, shall I call it, a socioeconomic impact. So you're not only addressing societal issues, environmental issues, but you can actually butter bread from it. And it is very possible for us to be intentional. There are platforms out there such as Gen and Gen UK, amongst other gens across the world. It just takes you to be intentional, to be hungry, to be gingered, to go out there and say, right, this is where I've seen an opportunity. Let me Google this, listen to that, explore everything in between, and have a mindset that's just ready to go through that entrepreneurial journey. Because the reality of it is, our municipalities cannot do some of these things alone. They really can't. The rate of urbanization and development is way too much compared to the processes and the protocols they need to follow. So it's up to us and our interest within the space that can ensure we co-create in addressing these opportunities, not issues. So have these conversations on a date with your lover Have the conversations where you take your kids to school, where you pick them up from school. Have them as friends because it all starts in that mindset shift. That's us being intentional to be part of the solution. And with that being said, Mark, thank you to the moon and beyond for sharing the nuggets. And I trust that someone will listen and just be catalyzed to take it from one point to another. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And good luck, everyone.
awesome. Until the next episode, be intentional. Cheers.